Hey, Cornerstone, thanks for joining us this week on The Connection. We've been talking these last weeks about the kingdom, and this week we're going to talk about the kingdom and the church. And in order to help us do that, I've got this little document right here. I'm guessing a lot of you have one of these. This is my passport. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about U.S. passports is this inscription on right in the front page. It says, "The Secretary of State of the United States of America hereby requests all whom it may concern to permit the citizen/national of the United States named herein to pass without delay or hindrance, and in case of need, to give all lawful aid and protection." That sounds really formal. It sounds kind of cool, like the Secretary of State and all lawful aid and protection and all the rest. But basically, I'm not a lawyer. This is not to be construed as international legal advice. Basically, a passport means a couple things. It means that since this one was issued by the U.S., the person named in it, me, can get back into the U.S. It means that I can get into other foreign countries. And it means that if something goes sideways while I'm in one of those foreign countries, I might be able to get some help. And there's instructions for how to get that help. And the instructions basically say, hey, connect with a U.S. embassy or consulate and do what they tell you to do and make sure that they know you're there. This little book says, if I'm traveling in another country, it says, I'm not from France, I'm not from Brazil or Australia, I'm from the U.S. And if I need help there, it says I can get to an outpost of the U.S. I could get to an embassy or a consulate. And I always thought that embassies were like American soil in another country, not the actual dirt, but metaphorically speaking, American soil in another country. Apparently that's called extraterritoriality, and that's not always the case. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you want. But regardless, an embassy or a consulate is a place where somebody with one of these can get some help, because it's a little outpost, it's a little enclave of America, of the sending country in a host country. Now maybe you're saying, and rightly so, Brent, what does all that have to do with the kingdom and the church? Well, we've been saying that the kingdom is life under God's rule and reign. It's life set up for human flourishing. It's life experiencing God's blessing. It's life as it was supposed to be. This kingdom was exemplified way back in Genesis 1 and 2 in the garden. It was tried unsuccessfully in the Old Testament by Israel. They didn't live up to God's rule and reign. It was established by Jesus. It was confirmed in his resurrection. And the kingdom today lives on and is seen in the church and in those who have passports, if you will, of the kingdom of heaven. Let's look for a second at Acts 1. In Acts chapter 1, Jesus is ascending back up in heaven. He's leaving his followers and he's going back where he came from. He's being glorified into God's presence. And the disciples say, "Hey, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel?" They were thinking about a kingdom like a physical country, borders, peoples, rulers. Get the Romans out of here. Let us be in charge. Let's establish that kingdom. And Jesus says, it's not for you to know the times or seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Jesus is saying, look, the kingdom is a different deal. He's saying, you're my witnesses. He's saying, you all now have passports of the kingdom of heaven. Your values, your culture are driven by God's rule and reign. Your home is there, not here. You are all now foreign citizens, is what Jesus is saying to his followers. And that means that when these foreign citizens gather, that is an outpost of the kingdom. The church is like an embassy. It's a place where, we're still subject to, we're still a part of the community in which we gather, but we gather for a different purpose than the community in which we live. We gather with different aims, different cause, different values, different things that are important to us. 1 Peter chapter 2 puts it this way. It says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." And then Peter goes on to say that we're like sojourners and exiles in the places where we live. The church is an outpost of the kingdom. When somebody walks into the church on a Sunday morning, they should look around and say, this is different. These people are living with different values, under a different rule, under a different reign. Yeah, they're a part of our community, but it's like they're from somewhere else. And that's why we do what we do, because we, as the church, we as Cornerstone are an outpost of God's kingdom. Our goal is to showcase life under the rule and reign of Jesus. Our goal is to help promote human flourishing, just like God would have. So we talk about sin at church because we need forgiveness, and without forgiveness, we won't flourish. And because sin is contrary to God's rule and reign, we talk about injustice, and we work for justice because God cares about justice. We talk about division, and we work toward love. We seek to display all the Beatitudes that we've been examining on Sunday mornings, because those Beatitudes, being poor in spirit, mourning, meekness, hungering and thirsting for righteousness, seeking to be pure in heart, seeking to be merciful, seeking to be peacemakers that we'll look at this Sunday, those things are our native tongue. Cornerstone, it's good to be a part of the kingdom with you. And I'm grateful that God has given us little outposts of the kingdom in his church that we can be a part of here and now. Look forward to seeing you there on Sunday.